all, Violet here, second generation homeschooling mom of 3. I have a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an infant. Today I wanted to share with you the history program that we're using this year, so let's get into it. We are using History Quest Middle Times by Pandia Press this year. We used History Quest Early Times last year and we liked it, so we continued on with History Quest this year. History Quest is a narrative style, fully secular curriculum. And each year you're going to need these 2 books. If you want to do the full program with integrity, you need both pieces. So this is the student reader, and then this is all the activities and supplemental books and all of that stuff. And coloring pages, all that's in here. I'll show you that in just a minute. First, let's flip through the student reader. So we actually use the audiobook. The narrator is lovely. We really like her voice. I did start out reading this to my daughter, but after listening to the audiobook, she said that she preferred to listen to the audiobook. And that's easier for me, so we just do that. You can see each chapter is separated up into 2 sections. So the first section is the narrative overview of whatever you're talking about that week. So for this week, it's Islamic innovation. There's usually 1 or sometimes 2 grayscale pictures for each chapter. This first section does not have a coloring page, but every history hop has a coloring page. So this is definitely written in a narrative style, but the second section, you are a time traveler going back in time to meet a historical figure. And this section is unique to History Quest, and my daughter and my son actually really love this part. My son doesn't particularly like this narrative section. It's a little over his head. He's just turned 5, so he's a little young for it, but he always comes and listens to the history hop with us and does the coloring. He really, really enjoys this, and my daughter loves this too. It's a good story. It's exciting. You're meeting someone, and you're finding out like a really in-depth dive on one particular character or one particular historical figure. So I really like the juxtaposition in this program between the broad overview that's the first day and then the very specific look at a person the second day. And then they have supplemental reading for additional information in the student activity book. So you can see this section has 2 grayscale pictures when you're meeting this person. Then there are some footnotes at the end for you, the adults, to know. They aren't really things that your student would need to know, but if they have questions about something or you're reading something that contradicts this, you can look at the footnotes and see if they address it. So I'm not going to flip through any more of this. All the chapters are kind of set up the same way, and Pandia Press actually has a really generous try before you buy sample on their website. I'll link below if you want to look at a few more of the chapters. So then the study guide, which is the second part you'll need, has for each unit a section, and you can see listed in here, which wasn't in the other book, these Huga units, which are 1 week where you don't read from the student reader, you just read in-depth some literature each week. And I actually added 2 Hugas to this year because I felt like we needed to stop and do Norse mythology. And then I'm also planning to do a Shakespeare Huga at the end. The supplemental reading for Elizabethan times is Shakespeare, but I'd like to do even more. Just 'cause I think it's fun and it'll be the end of the year, so it's a good spot. There are also only, as you can see, 28 units in this program. And the way that I schedule our school year, I plan 40 weeks, and my goal is to do 36 full weeks. So I always add some extra weeks. And so already this year I've decided I added Norse, and then I'm going to add Shakespeare, and we'll add more things as they come up. So it has a how to use this study guide. It talks about the travelogue, which we don't do. I'll show you what we do instead. And then I'm going to skip this first day because it's a little bit different. Or this first week is a little bit different. It's the introductory week. But so here's the Islamic Innovation week that matches the chapter I showed you. It has the main goal for this week. And right up front, it tells you the resources. We don't ever use this Usborne encyclopedia. We use a DK encyclopedia. I'll show you in a minute. We don't really read from it. We mostly just look at it for the pictures because there aren't any colored pictures in this program. Ingredients you'll need for day 3, which is the activity day. Honestly, we skip a lot of these activities. I always give my daughter the option of doing them, but we do them on Friday instead of on day 3. And a lot of the time she would rather go play with her brother, go play outside, go do something else than do the activity. And that's fine. I think the activities are really fun if your child is into them, but I don't think they have a whole ton of educational value. Like maybe a few years from now, my daughter will remember doing the activity, but I don't know that she's necessarily going to help her remember the historical stuff we learned. But they're fun. So if she wants to do them, we'll do them. And most of them are fairly simple. And then enrichment reading. So I checked these out from the library. Sometimes it'll be a book that she can read on her own. She's a strong reader. Sometimes it'll be a book that we read during our lunchtime reading. It's sort of like our morning basket time, but we don't do it in the morning. We do it at lunch. That's much, much easier for me. And then some of them will just be books that I'll have around. She can flip through them if she's interested, but I won't assign them and I won't read them. They're just there if she wants to look at them more. So this is their suggested schedule. We do not do this schedule. We condense history. We do history 3 days a week, and then we do science the other 2 days. Although we just joined a co-op, and so now we're going to have to squish history down into 2 days a week. So I'll tell you what we were doing and then what we're going to do now that we're doing a co-op one day and we only have 4 days to do school. So on day 1, they want you to read from the encyclopedia and read the first part of the chapter. Day 2, you do the history hop and you look at things on Google Earth and you do the travel log. Day 3, you do your activity. Day 4, you review and do the review options, which I'll show you in a minute. Day 5 is enrichment reading and extra web links and things that are on their website. And so they keep them on their website instead of in this book so that they can update them so that the links always work. So definitely check those out. They have videos. I think it's a lot of videos, but a lot of cool web links on their website. Terms and concepts, these are the main things that hopefully your student will get from this lesson. And then they have a more in-depth explanation of what you do each of the days. So here's the activity all laid out, demonstrate, and they have 3 options: short answers, narration, or copywork. They have 2 copyworks, a shorter one and then a longer one for older kids or kids who are more advanced. I always ask my daughter just to do the shortest one because we do a separate writing program. So this is mostly just for writing across content, which is a big thing in the writing revolution. One of the books that I read that informs our writing across content, but I don't necessarily do everything that the Writing Revolution asks you to do because I use Writing with Ease as our main writing curriculum. But writing in a lot of different subjects helps solidify that knowledge, so we do this short copy work. And then I also ask my daughter these short answer questions. And then here's the enrichment reading list, and it tells you about each of the readings so you can decide if all of them are going to be good fits for your family, especially if you don't have them at the library and you can't get them. This will help you decide whether you want to buy them or not. I honestly probably would just substitute with whatever your library has if you don't have those specific books. All right, so what do we do instead of this schedule? So on day 1, we do chapter 1, or we do the first part of the chapter, and then we do use our encyclopedia, which I'm gonna show you. We use this history encyclopedia from DK. It's more recently published. It's a bit less Eurocentric and whitewashed than the Usborne encyclopedia. It doesn't have as much information on each page. I'll show you an example. It's a little bit less text heavy, but since I'm mostly using this for the pictures, it's more important to me that it has good pictures and that it's not as whitewashed and Eurocentric. That was, that I looked at a ton of different encyclopedias and this one was the best. And it actually goes all the way up to COVID times. And that's just about the end of it. So yeah, we really like this encyclopedia. It provides the color pictures that this history program does not have. So that's day 1. We read and we look at the encyclopedia, and then my daughter will do a writing activity from Lit House Learning's exercises, which are based on the Writing Revolution. I really like having the writing exercises all laid out for me so I don't have to think about pulling together my own Writing Revolution exercises. So this is an example of a day 1. She has a whole bunch of different exercises you do, so it's not the same kind of exercise every time. But this is an example of what one of the exercises would look like for a day 1. So then day 2, we read the history hop. Instead of doing the travel log, we do a timeline. Like I said, we use the audiobook. So with the audiobook, you get the image, a PDF of the images from the book. So I just printed them really tiny. And then this timeline is actually from Curiosity Chronicles. When we were doing ancient history last year, I tried to combine History Quest and Curiosity Chronicles, and my kids just could not stand the dialogue style of Curiosity Chronicles. They hated listening to it. They weren't retaining anything. It just, unfortunately, I was so excited about it. It just really didn't work for us at all, and I'm still a little bit sad about that. But History Quest at least worked well. So we do use this timeline backer is from Curiosity Chronicles, and then the pictures are from History Quest. So day 2, history hop, timeline, and then she'll do the writing activity from Lit House Learning for day 2. This would be an example of sentence types. And the Lit House Learning has how to teach and how to do all of these different writing activities. I'm not going to go through this workbook right now, but Kayla from Ode to Abode has a really good, really thorough review of Lit House Learning's different writing products. So I'll try to remember to link that in the description box below. And then day 3 for us would be the review option. And like I said, we do short answers and the copy work. and then also whatever the activity is. This next year, now that we've joined the co-op, I think what we're going to do is probably double up and do history and science on one day. So we'll probably still do 3 days of history. I'm still thinking about it, trying to decide what to do. So that's my first option. My second option is doing all of the history listening in the car while we drive to and from co-op. So both the first part of the chapter and the history hop, we would just listen to both of them. And then doing the writing and the review and the activity on the other, and the timeline and all that stuff on the other 2 days. So I'm not totally sure which way is going to work better for us. I'm going to have to kind of play around and find out what works better. So this study guide has at the back, oh, there's the map key. The travelogue pages, you can also print these out from their website. It has coloring pages. Here's an example of one of my daughter's completed coloring pages. And then it also has maps. And the instructions for how to do the maps are in the study guide. Not every week has a map. I think there's only 11 maps for the whole year. Some of them you do use more than 1 week. You go back and add things. Here's an example of one of the completed maps from one of our recent units. Here's an example of my daughter's copy work. Working on how sentences look, working a little bit on her handwriting. Lots more copy work. So that works really well for us so far. Next, I'm going to show you a few supplemental things I have. This is a atlas, like it says, of world history. We don't use this every week, but it is nice to, let me show you the table of contents first. So they published this as 3 separate volumes. So I think it has, okay. So this was originally published as Ancient World, Medieval World, Exploration and Empire. I don't love that heading, but I do like the maps. So we don't usually read the information in here, but we look at the maps. And then Modern World, and it's all put together into one volume. So it has these maps, labeling things. History Quest has the answer for the maps too, but it's nice sometimes to look at these and compare because these maps are a different scale than the other maps. So you can usually see more of the world in these maps, which I think is kind of cool. My son really likes maps, so he really likes looking at this atlas. My daughter doesn't care a whole ton. Another thing that I added this year was I purchased this Goddesses and Heroines book for my daughter, and she reads this on her own. I was originally going to line the stories up with whatever thing we were learning about each week, but my daughter liked this book so much that she just went and read the whole thing. So she's done with it already. That's fine. She really liked it. She's actually rereading it now. I'll just show you some of the stories and some of the art inside. This has stories of goddesses and heroines from all over the world. I like the level that it's written at. It's really good for where she's at right now. She doesn't have any trouble understanding the stories. They have little insert pages where they talk about where each of the figures are from, what culture, how you pronounce it, what city they're from, if they have a specific city, all of that. So this is actually part of a series. I think, yeah, they have the rest of the books in the series on the back. So this book, this Goddesses and Heroines, the author also wrote this Egyptian myths we used last year and really liked. I'm not sure if she wrote the Greek myths one. She definitely did not write this one, and I did not like the writing style in this one as much, so we did not use this one this year. We actually used, for our Norse hygge that I added, we used this Dolaire's Norse Gods and Giants book instead. This is a book that I used when I was a kid. We were homeschooling, and here's the table of contents. And so I went back to this. The writing is definitely at a little bit higher level. So this I read aloud to her because the writing, it's an older book. So I just wanted to make sure that she was understanding everything. And I think reading it out loud to her was a good choice. This book does have the ending where after Ragnarok, it's essentially the Christian Adam and Eve come and repopulate the earth, which is now part of that saga. It was obviously added at some point after the Norse converted to Christianity, but just to note that that is in that edition because it is now part of that cycle. Another book that I got to maybe use this year for our Shakespeare hygge. Again, this is a book that I had when I was a kid, and I remember really, really liking it. But now that I look through it, I'm not sure my daughter is going to be ready to read this. I don't remember how old I was when I read this book. So this might be one that we save for the next time we come to Shakespeare, just because it's, again, slightly older, and so, and the stories are kind of long. So I don't know that I'm going to have the stamina to read all of this out loud. Maybe. We'll see when we get there. But just in case this doesn't work for us, I also have this audio CD. This is the copy that I had when I was a kid. My mom sent them to me when I started homeschooling. I have a whole stack of them that we're using this year. But for Shakespeare, we got this one, and then I purchased as an MP3 the Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and then also Julius Caesar. So this storyteller, Jim Weiss, is Jewish. So some of his CDs, like for example, Bible stories for children, are told from a Jewish perspective. I stay away from the history ones because they look like very traditional whitewashed history type of deal. But the myths and legends I have a soft spot for because I listened to them when I was a child. And I really like Jim Weiss's voice. It's definitely go to his website and listen to his samples because you're either going to like his voice or you're not going to be able to stand it, and then this would not be a good thing for you. But I have a bunch of these CDs from when I was a kid, so we're going to incorporate more of them this year because my daughter also really likes them. So we have this Arabian Nights one to go with Arabian Nights. Oh, I didn't show you the back of Shakespeare. Here's the back of it's just Midsummer Night's Dream and Taming of the Shrew. We use this one to go along with Norse mythology. Just Odin and the Norsemen, because the other two are Greek myths, so we did them last year. We used this King Arthur one earlier this year. Sorry, the glare on these is really bad. And then we also used this Three Musketeers and Robin Hood one. The Three Musketeers, I don't think we've gotten there yet in history, but we just listened to the CD all at the same time. I also have a Celtic Treasures one floating around somewhere. That one is framed during when St. Patrick is coming to Ireland, just FYI. It's an old Irish person telling the myths to St. Patrick. All right, and then these next few books are books that I have as reference books on the shelves if my kids want to look at them, but I don't ever assign them and I don't really read from them. This is Stephen Biesti's Cross Sections Castle. This is a book that both my husband and I had when we were kids. We both remember reading this book as kids, and so I had to get it. And it's just very, very detailed cross sections of a castle. He has other cross-section books too that are really cool, but this is the one that goes along with what we're doing in history this year. So I really like those books. And then we also have A City Through Time and A Street Through Time that we can look at. Sorry, this book is so big, I'm not sure it's all gonna fit in the frame. Here's the table of contents, and it goes through. We've got people you can look for in the picture, talks a little bit about the city, and kind of just get a feel for it. I don't think my kids have looked at these too much yet, but I think they're cool. I don't know that I would buy them myself if I were doing... I actually don't think I did buy these. I think someone gave them to me. I think I probably would just check them out from the library periodically if I were doing this again. We live in a... it's a decently sized house, but we definitely are running out of space for books already, and my kids are not even that old. So this is one that I probably would... just check out from the library when we needed it. We have a really, really good library system here, and they all pretty much always have everything I need. But yeah, those are those two books. Thank you for watching. I hope you found that helpful. As always, I'll put links in the description box below. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you click on an Amazon link and make a purchase, I do receive a small commission. Thank you.